Okay, we're going to get started here. Class of 2025, good morning. Let me hear you. Oh, man, not very good. The sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they brought some noise this week. One more time. Good morning, class of 2025. How are you today? All right, we're getting there. We're all warming up. A couple quick introductions here. To my left and to your right, Mr. Swanson, your assistant principal, will be presenting this morning. To my right, Mrs. Eklund, your dean of students. Mrs. Wrzinski, your assistant principal. And to kick things off today, please give a warm welcome to your athletic director, Mr. Sternquist.
All right, freshmen, welcome to Pep Assembly here in January. We're going to talk about some celebrations today. We're going to talk about some habits, expectations, go over some data, but we're going to try to have a good time, all right? So first slide, we're going to talk about what our assembly norms and expectations are. Need you to be present, okay? So what that means is we're going to have some fun in here, all right? We're going to let you be loud. We want you to be engaged. So if you could just put your phones down for just a couple minutes here, eyes up. Like I said, we're going to celebrate some people, celebrate some freshmen in this room right now. We're going to talk about the great things you're doing here. So be a sponge. Eyes up, just put the phones down for a little bit. When it's time to listen, let's listen. When it's time to be loud, let's be loud, all right? You feel like screaming at the top of your lungs and celebrating, do that. Let's let the juniors, seniors, and sophomores know we're in here, all right? But when we're talking about some important information, let's try to keep all that energy bottled up. So when it's time to celebrate, we can be loud and proud. Next slide, please. First 20 days, we talked about three things: connection, safety, and learning structure. First 20 days, we want to get into that groove again of being back in secondary education, formal education. Next slide, please. We're back, all right? We are back in school. And think about it, the first time that you were in a full year of education in a school was probably 6th grade for some of you. All right, well, you were here for a semester, yeah, but then you went home and virtually learned. So the last time that you were in school from August until May was your 6th grade. How much stronger are you? How much more mature are you now as a freshman in January of 2022? Think about almost 2.5 years ago and where you've gone. So we have expectations and habits now in secondary education, how we act, how we behave, a maturity factor, right? We want to be considered young adults. We got to start acting like young adults. So we're going to talk about how you guys have grown and done a great job, because we are Buck proud. We're proud of every single student in this room right now. You have endured so much. More than some of the adults in this classroom have endured when it comes to trying to be educated, trying to go to school, trying to have friends, trying to do things, and something out of your control is pushing back on you. And for that, every single person, staff member, faculty, adult in this room is proud of you, and we respect you. So give yourselves a round of applause. Next slide, please. We talked about being able to do things, so we were finally able to come back and participate in some sports. All right, athletics. We raised the bar this year. When I came in about 2.5 years ago, our athletics needed to get a boost. We need to have a little bit more Buck pride in the building. In one season, we had 9 first-team all-conference and 2 coaches of the year. In the previous 6 seasons, we had that same number in those 6 seasons. So over a 2-year span, we had 10, 11 first-team all-conference. In one semester, one fall, we had 9. And some of them are in this room right now, so let's give them a big round of applause. But it's just not about sports. We have so much going on at the school. Next slide, please. We have celebrations. We have band, theater, choir, FFA, just to name a few that are back in this building, in this room right here, putting on plays, performances, theaters, concerts, you name it. And people in the community want to see you doing these things. As you can see right there, Cherryvale Mall, that's our band performing over Christmas. Thousands of people shopping, listening to the Belvedere Bucks band playing Christmas tunes. Representing you, representing the city, representing this high school. Same thing with our theater. 2 years ago, they had a play ripped from in March. They had it ripped right from their grasp. couldn't perform it. And now we are back in here performing trap, and a lot more performances coming. Our band on the football stadium, soccer field out there, had a performance. They had their concerts in here, choir, and FFA. FFA on a yearly basis is nationally and regionally going out and competing and bringing home awards. So let's celebrate them. Let's give them a huge round of applause, all right? And on that note, we have one individual in the building who will be, actually he's probably at state right now, Jacob Teedy. Let's give him a round of applause. Jacob was chosen as an all-state honoree to go down and represent everyone in this room right now and in this school and in this community. He is down there right now in Peoria competing, performing on behalf of Belvedere High School, Belvedere students, and the community of Belvedere, Boone County, and this Northern Illinois region. That's pretty awesome. One person, all state, gets to go down and compete for such a large amount of people. Represents us. So let's give him one more round of applause. All right, like I said, we missed you guys. When you came back, we wanted to celebrate. We've celebrated the seniors. We've celebrated the juniors. Next up's the sophomores. But on April 12th, we're going to celebrate the freshmen. You guys are going to get the cookies. You guys are going to have the drawings, the raffles. It's going to be a day of celebrating the freshman class, the 2025 class. Because by the time you guys graduate from here, just think how things are going to change. Just think how things have changed since 6th grade to where you're at right now. Now we're thinking to what's 2025 going to be like. And we're looking forward to being a part of your journey. Next slide, please. Celebration. So about a week or two ago, we had the opportunity to meet as a class. So some of your peers in this room right now were invited to a Buck Club Voice, like a forum room. Could you stand up real quick? If you freshmen were invited to go to the forum room or to a room and speak on behalf of your freshman class, go ahead and stand up right now. Go ahead. Give them a round of applause. So we had a panoramic survey that went out, and we got data from that survey, and we wanted you guys to talk about those items. But the great thing about Voice is that something was scripted, but there were students, such as these ones that just stood up, that said, you know what, I see your data, I see your questions, but I have other concerns. And they brought these concerns to our attention. And that leads me to a quote real quick here by Martin Luther King Jr. We celebrated him about a week and a half ago. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So what's that mean? You have a very powerful voice. And when you choose not to use it, you're hiding that power. And it's almost like you're quieting yourself. You're dying. And because of your peers and the students in this school speaking up saying, I want something done, I want change, we had a group come up to us and say, okay, I want to create a club. And they created Club Latina. This is a club created by students, supervised by staff. As you can see, the information's up here, but this is what a voice does. It creates a club. It creates change. It creates action. So as freshmen, I know it's tough to speak your voice, but you have a powerful voice. Speak up. Let us know. Let your teachers, let your administration. If you see something that's missing, speak up about it and let us know. So, on that note, that is our celebrations. We are all proud of you. I'm proud of you. I love the Buck pride that's coming in this class. I love the energy. Continue to grow. And I'm so excited to be a part of your journey here through Belvedere High School. Go Bucks. And next up is Mrs. Wrzinski. Give her a round of applause.
All right, hello, freshmen. So I want to talk to you about a few things related to Empower and Grade. So first, I do want to celebrate. We ran our first standards-based report card, and we're looking over some of the preliminary data. And we had 72.5% of our students pass all of their coursework. So that's huge. All that adversity that Mr. Sternquist was talking about, and to come back for a first full in-person semester and see that much success, let's give those students a round of applause. Now, a lot of these students utilize some of the services that we have available, but we want to remind you of all the support that we have here at BHS for you. So first, Bucks Win every Thursday. Make sure you're making a plan during Buck Club on Tuesdays and following through with that. Get that support that you need from your teachers. Also, we have after-school tutoring Tuesdays through Thursdays, after school for an hour. Come visit your teachers that are there to help support you, want to help you provide the evidence that you need towards your classes. They're there for you, and we have transportation available. Like Mrs. Eklund is going to talk about in a moment, make sure if you do end up quarantined that you log in remotely. We have teachers streaming their classes. Again, they want to support you and make sure that you can stay on track while you're out of the building. And lastly, advocate for yourself. Tell us what you need. We want to be here. We want to get you what you need, so make sure you reach out and let us know. On a final note, some clarity on grades for second semester. So for year-long classes, if a teacher is continuing to teach a standard, they may continue to use evidence and add evidence into that second semester grade. However, if they are no longer teaching that standard, it may not count towards your second semester grade. So make sure you're connecting with your teachers, you know what evidence you need to provide, and can stay on track for those. All right, Mrs. Eklund is going to talk about some COVID information for us.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about some items and some data related to health, safety, being successful here at BHS. So we can't do that without also talking about COVID. You guys have been dealing with COVID since you were 7th grade, and it looks a little different this year. This year it looks a lot like quarantines, testing positive, teachers being out of the building, and things like that. So it's still pretty tough, but we are persevering. Here's some data for you. 772 times a student at BHS has been affected by COVID this year. I can tell you almost half of those times has been since winter break. All right, 47 times a staff member has been affected either by testing positive or being a close contact with somebody either at home or at school. So as you guys can probably notice, you've had a lot of subs lately, and we recognize that that's been tough and that we're really working to persevere through that. A little more data. Last week alone, we had 15 students test positive. That led to us identifying 29 students as close contacts, and from those 29 students, 12 of them had to quarantine for somewhere up to 5 days. Okay, so what can we do? What can we do to keep persevering and pushing through? Because I think we can all also agree that while this is tough, we can celebrate that we're not at home with our Doritos and our Mountain Dew. We're still here, we're still able to connect with people and move forward with our education, and you're able to, stay in high school in person. So what can you do? You can social distance when you can, like we're doing right here. We put 1 seat in between you. Try to, if there's space in your area, take up the space. All right, if you're asked to quarantine, like Ms. Wersinski said, make sure you're staying connected through email, Empower, logging into your classes. Okay, make sure that you're staying home if you're sick. Call us, let us know. We'll let you know when you're able to come back. We want you to be here. We'll get you back as soon as possible, but there might be some guidelines in place. Lastly, we can all continue to wear our masks. That's a big part in us being able to stay here, is making sure that our masks are worn properly for a variety of reasons. Okay, thank you.
So one last thing that we're going to ask you guys to commit to is food in the building, and that's for 2 reasons. So we're going to ask you to make sure that food is being consumed in the cafeteria only. That means that you shouldn't be taking food or breakfast out of the cafeteria and eating it down the hallway, eating in classes, things of that nature. And so one, because of COVID. So like Mrs. Eklund just talked about, we want to make sure that we're wearing our masks appropriately. Obviously, eating requires us to remove our masks, so we want to make sure those are up. So again, food only in the cafeteria. The second reason is due to student and staff food allergies. So just like some people get COVID and have a more severe reaction, there are students and staff members that have severe reactions to food. And that includes when they consume food, or some people even experience reactions when that food becomes airborne. So behind me is an example of a poster that you might see around the school, or some variation of that poster. And again, that's just us reminding you that there is somebody that comes in this area that has a severe allergy, so we're going to ask you to be really conscientious in those zones. But again, make sure we're limiting that food into the cafeteria. We want this to be a safe space for everybody here at BHS, and we want this to be a safe learning environment. So we're going to ask your help with that. Up next is Mr. Swanson. Go Bucks.
Good morning, freshmen. I'm going to spend a little time discussing with you guys our discipline data, which we're going to call our culture data. Because all these behaviors that I'm about to visit and revisit are things that impact our school culture. Back in November, we had a virtual assembly that we named the Great Reset. We were seeing a high number of drugs, alcohol, tobacco, weapons, and fighting referrals that were leading to a negative school culture. At that time, we had that Great Reset, and since then, we have seen 17 incidents of those types of behaviors. While we can take some positives from that time, we also can take a look at some things that we can be tighter on. And one of those things is in our bathrooms. So this next slide here shows that through January 12th, we had 82 school days, and we had 34 incidents of bathroom disruptions. Since we've tightened on our bathroom protocols and expectations, which has been 11 school days, we've only seen one bathroom incident. These types of incidents that occur in our bathrooms have a domino effect. And I'm not talking about the domino they get from Domino's Pizza. This domino effect looks like this. We have our custodians who are already short-staffed, are needed to be pulled out of the cafeteria from cleaning, or they need to be pulled out of classrooms from cleaning in order to go to a bathroom. And they have to go ahead and clean that bathroom, they have to repair that bathroom, and that costs time, and that costs money. Next, you're going to see that admin are pulled out of their responsibilities from supporting other students because they may be looking at video footage. They may having to talk to other students that were in those bathrooms to identify who's causing these disruptions. Next, our school resource officer, Officer Kaplan, he may be pulled as well to look at video footage and also pulled from supervision. Students directly involved with these types of things may have to come to the office and discuss this with a school resource officer or with an administrator. They may receive consequences. They may have to pay restitution, which means paying back those things that they caused damage to while in the bathrooms. And then students not directly involved with it, they have to pay for this as well. A lot of you, most of you in here, probably have nothing to do with this, but you're impacted by those that do. And when you don't know which bathroom to use and things like that, you're rerouted, your sense of safety, it decreases. And we don't want any of that. So because of all of this, the increase in these negative behaviors and these bathroom incidents has caused us to be a little more tighter on our bathroom expectations. Our goal for the bathroom for second semester here, we don't want to have to be as restrictive as we are, but unfortunately that's where we're at right now. Our number one goal is to maintain safety. If we have to be more restrictive, we can. Our goal is to pull back on those restrictions, and hopefully we can get to that point. And then lastly, we're going to constantly improve these systems. So as Mr. Sternquist talked about, and we had some of your fellow classmen stand up in regards to providing input for butt clubs, we're going to ask that second semester too, because we're looking to constantly improve in this area and other areas. So some of you may be wondering and questioning, why are we visiting and why are we revisiting these things? This next slide here, these above behaviors impact our culture data. Vandalism, vaping, being in the cafeteria and cleaning up after yourself, being in the hallways with a proper pass. Belvedere High School is a closed campus. We can't just leave without permission. In-school suspensions, out-of-school suspensions. All of these things that we talk about here and that we visit today impact your school culture, not just as a freshman class, but as an entire building. If you see something, report it. You may be entitled to monetary compensation from our local Crime Stoppers, or maybe even a voucher for a concession item at an after-school activity. Again, we revisit these items because you guys all impact our school culture. Push each other, push us, push yourselves, push your peers. Let's make a better culture for second semester. Without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce your building principal, Mr. Lewis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Swanson. Thank you, assistant principals and class of 2025 for your attention this morning. I appreciate it. We got just a couple minutes left, and we always try to leave some space in these assemblies for a little mental fuel. Okay, if you think about that word, fuel, we use fuel to fill up cars. When we fill up our cars with fuel, we're allowed to go places. Works the same way with us as individuals. You heard some thoughts about working together and about ownership. I'm going to try to double down on those and really hammer those home so we can walk out of here feeling good about our ability to impact our experience here at BHS. So this idea of fuel, probably don't have a lot of argument from this. Okay, we've studied this in health classes and PE. When we give ourselves the right physical fuel, exercise, nutrition, sleep, okay, we feel better physically, better mobility, better energy, and maybe what's not talked about as much as our ability to impact our mental state, the mental fuel. So if we learn good coping strategies, if we have good self-talk, and when we consider perspectives, okay, and when we have the best perspective that we can, it's going to increase these things for us. Confidence, focus, our ability to manage stress. So I got a couple of illustrations here that hopefully can hammer this point home. Okay? Mr. Swanson asked the question. He said, a lot of you are probably sitting here saying, what has this got to do with me? I behave myself. I do what I'm supposed to do. You're absolutely right. Okay? But here's the thing. A lot of people live by this. Okay, this idea that the grass is greener on the other side, that if something isn't good, it's probably because that person's doing something over there, or I don't have this, or this situation happened. Okay, they're putting the influence on the external factors. Okay, and sometimes that's true. Sometimes a new environment does help, no doubt. Okay, but you can't live your whole life thinking this. Okay, this is another related quote. Okay, this idea of the grass is greener where you water it. So yes, maybe it looks better over there, but we've got a lot of ability to impact our environment here. Not just here at BHS, but our lives in general. So this mental fuel today, okay, is to challenge you to accept this. This idea that, you know what, if we put in a little effort, okay, if we speak up on things, start a new club, speak up if something doesn't look right, it's going to make me feel safer. It's going to help me move closer to what I'm after, my goals and dreams. That's what it's all about. So we've got a 1-minute video that's going to really try to bring this point home. Okay, so I want you to think about the good wolf as we're leaving the assembly today.
As the legend goes, an old Cherokee was teaching his grandson about life. He said to the boy, "A fight is going on inside me. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, guilt, lies, superiority, and ego. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too." The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then he asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed."
So that's it, class of 2025. Okay, if enough of us do this, if enough of us water the grass in front of us and feed that good wolf, it's going to help all of us find our greatness, feel safe and successful here at BHS. You've been awesome today. Thanks for your attention. Please sit tight until that bell rings and have a great semester. Go Bucks.